November 14th. Big data is huge. The next game changer that integrates with big data is 3D printing. Have you heard of 3D printing? Very different than manufacturing. Because in manufacturing, you take something and you take away everything that it doesn't need. But this is not the same way. 3D printing lays down successive thin layers of a material. And it could be any kind of material. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. So we look here. The essence of why we exist is to increase the ability of the United States to compete in manufacturing. Manufacturing is coming back fast. And there's going to be a ton of jobs. Today, Ken Gronbach said to me, don't blame me, he said, these people are all going to get hired. You need to hear those words because this could be frightening. Yes? How are you going to manage this? There's going to be jobs. You have to be ready. We're confident that additive manufacturing, that's 3D printing, will have a profound impact on the nation. What can we print? How about a heart that won't get rejected? Need a heart? Rejection is the biggest issue. What's going to happen to those pharmaceutical companies that do all these rejection drug therapies? Interesting. What else could we do? Oh, that was April 13th. An ear. You've heard about the ear? They've made a human ear. This is a bionic ear, actually. And that was May 2nd, so last spring. This is a liver that they can do. That was November 6th, earlier this month. 3D printing is going to change everything, too. How many of you heard about the gun that they produced that works, but it can't be detected? It's going to be going everywhere. And there's going to be supportive jobs there as well. So let's go into biotechnology, genetics. Oh, wow. Your personal DNA sequence. You can do that today. Oh, genetically modified everything. Oh. What if we could grow trees 15 times faster and rebuild the rainforests? Would that be okay with you? What if we could have plants that clean up the atmosphere? Would that be okay with you? Make your air cleaner? Well, we do. Here's the ear in a petri dish. There's a kidney that was grown, and that is skin. Burn victims. And it's not going to be rejected. Matter of fact, we can even grow bone inside your body, a specific bone. Pretty remarkable. That was this week. Now let's get into something a little more squishy. Food. Do you know that they can produce leather without the cow? How many cows do we kill? How many cows do we grow for food? Take up a lot of space. They put out this stuff called methane. Yeah? And we don't treat them very well. You know that. I'm not speaking to you today in terms of what I believe or think or feel or whatever. I'm telling you what is out there. Is that clear? Genetically modified food. And people say, you know, they're all upset about that. But the truth is, it's been happening for hundreds of years. It's called cross-pollination. The birds and the bees do it, and you get something really kind of cool. I have a hybrid butternut squash that's about 7 pounds. I grew 12 of them, and I have one each month. Andreas Forgax talks about the leather that they have produced, and they can layer it, they can control it. They can also grow meat. Okay, I'm seeing the looks here. Urgh. Care for a T-bone? If you were in the Philippines this week and hadn't had anything to eat for 3 days, would you be okay with that? Yeah. Maybe so. DNA sequencing is becoming inexpensive. So you can go in and you can find out all sorts of things. Now, I didn't go through the ordering process, but I did click on Order Now, and guess how much it costs? A whopping $99 to get your DNA sequence. All they do is they send you a kit, and they tell you how to get your DNA off a swab from your saliva, which you send back to them. There's a video on there that shows you how you can get your DNA sequence now. Scared? How am I going to embrace all of this? That's understandable. How do we think about employment? You're expected to change jobs every 3 to 4 years. It can be in the same company, and someone would like, you know, I just want to have one more job and I want to retire. I want to do good work. I have a lot to bring. I have good value. I don't want to go here. I don't want to rebuild relationships. It could be in the same company. Now, when I worked at a very large insurance company, I knew lots of people that had been there 11 years and had 9 jobs. They went from place to place, right? Because in the companies, the jobs are shifting and the needs are shifting, and you want to show yourself as flexible. And I can learn a new thing and integrate into a new business group if you're in a larger company, but remember, they're shrinking. We'll talk a little more about that. So how do we think about it? Let's say this is where you are now looking for a job, and this is 3 years, 4 years later, and 6 to 8 years later. If you're looking for a job now, and you think 6 years from now, 8 years from now, I'd like to be in one of these 5 positions. So what are the jobs that will align you for those positions? So if I had this job, it would align me for this one and this one. And this job over here will align me for, well, 3 of those. So now you have options. And if that's where I'm going to be in 3 to 4 years, what does it say now? I have lots of options now in what I can do. And these will align me for several of these because it's going to be changing so fast and furious that you want to have options. It's going to be critical to have options. Now, keeping flexible, remaining versatile, and practicing resilience. You're doing it every day. You're some of the most resilient people in our society right now, and also some of the worst treated. But you get up every day and you came today, even if it didn't feel good. And you show courage every time someone says, "How are you today?" "Doing well? Fine, thank you." Good for you. This is more likely the reality. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what shape it's going to take. But we're going to have to be flexible. Maybe it's not every 3 years. Maybe you get a job and 6 months later you find yourself doing something different. Know anybody who had a job and they were laid off in 6 months? Oh. You don't want to be a neo-Luddite. Do you know what a Luddite is? They cropped up during the Industrial Revolution. They were against newfangled things, right? They threw wooden shoes in the middle of printing presses to break them. Don't be a neo-Luddite.